Right, this is Ask GMBN, the interactive video where we answer your questions.
Yeah, you guys can ask us almost anything about mountain biking and we will try our very best to answer it.
You can ask us anything, we might ignore them if it's rude or naughty. Anyway, Ben Featherstone, I have a 2x10 drivetrain, can I make it a 1x10?
You sure can. I guess you're going to need to change a couple of things and you're probably going to want to have a chain device and also a narrow wide chainring.
Yeah, you want to think about the cassette size. 2x10, you've probably got a smallish cassette, which you can use, but it'd probably be harder work. For 1x10, you might want to get a bigger cassette with a 36 on it.
Maybe he likes the hard work.
Yeah, maybe. Scott Kelly accidentally ran over a snake. Well, I'm glad it wasn't intentionally. Riding the Great Glen Way. That must be Scotland, I suppose. What's the weirdest thing you've ran over on your bike?
Coil, you don't get many snakes in Scotland, so that's pretty lucky. I've got to say, my closest encounter has got to be a snake. I actually ended up just hopping over it. Luckily in time, didn't squash the poor fella, but...
I've seen an adder in a forest in Scotland, actually. I once landed on a £10 note.
That's lucky.
Did a jump. I saw it. Oh, it's a £10 note. Landed on it. Had it.
Finders keepers, I guess.
Doesn't happen very often. Roshan Deepak. What do I do if my brake gets damaged and the oil starts to leak?
Well, you're going to have to probably replace something, aren't you? It could be coming from the caliper, the lever, or even the hose. I've actually worn through a hose recently, believe it or not, which was a bit of a bummer.
I've never seen that happen. You can knock things loose, so I would check all the probably 8mm things you need a spanner for. Yeah. Tight.
Those things, yeah.
Yeah, and seals, things like that, O-rings. Or you should check out this video on how to check your disc brakes. So first thing to check really is simply the feel of the brake. So pull your brake lever in, it should feel nice and solid when it contacts. So your brakes are getting pushed into the rotor, but also it should feel consistent. Every time you pull that lever, it should feel the same. As you can see with my brake, the first time I pull it in, the blade almost touches the grip, but once I've pulled it a few times, it doesn't come in as far, which is a sign that actually it's time for me to get working on this bike and bleed that brake. And we continue. Tommy Saarinen. Hello guys, I'm looking for a new hardtail. Should I buy a carbon 29 or an alloy 27.5, which is a little heavier but has slightly better components?
I'd say the 29er every time, especially for a hardtail, because you're just going to roll a little bit easier over those obstacles. You've got a bigger contact point for grip. And I actually think, despite all theories, 29ers are fun.
Yeah, definitely. Although I'd say if it's carbon 29er, you're not going to want to do big jumps on it probably. So it depends what you want to use it for. Right, next question.
Could be an aggressive carbon 29er.
It could be. Nicholas Masiaga. Ask GMBN, how can I make my cross-country carbon 29er hardtail more aggressive?
Is that the same person?
No, Nicholas, this one.
How can you make it more aggressive? I guess shorter stem.
Yep.
Wider bars.
Bigger tyres.
Bigger tyres. Maybe bigger fork, depending on what frame you have.
Yeah, sounds like good advice to me. Joe12321. What bikes does Neil have?
Oh, come on, I want a list. Last week you said some, but you didn't name them all.
They're not all mine, I borrow them, but I've got a GT Sanction, a GT Sensor, Scott Genius LT Plus, and the Scott Big Ed Fat Bike. Don't ride that very much.
Yeah.
Contrary to beliefs. And a Canyon Strive and a Canyon Lux, and a 1989 Kona Lava Dome and a Cervelo road bike.
Wow, what a collection.
That's a good collection. And I've got 2 motorbikes.
Oh, nice. Lucky guy, even more bikes.
Garage is full of it.
I think we should check out one of your pro bikes. Just take this opportunity to sit back, relax, and let Neil talk about one of his many own bikes.
Ah, brilliant. This is a 27.5 wheel bike with 160mm rear travel, 170mm up front, designed for the most aggressive enduro trails.
And to continue, what have we got next?
Anzi Cored Edge, what are the riding characteristic differences between an air and coil sprung shock?
There's quite a few actually, but I think it probably depends greatly on your bike, because if you actually use an air shock, the big advantage is that you can put a whole pile of volume spacers in there, which allows the bike to be a little bit more progressive. And if you've got a linear bike, then I would 100% recommend going for that air shock. The coil can be a little bit more sensitive in the start of the travel, so you've got a little bit more grip to really push into the turns, but there's pros and cons of both.
Yeah, I guess for me that's probably the biggest difference is the small bump sensitivity on a coil shock is really, really good. Okay, next question. Zanet Boy XD, how are carbon bars better?
Guess that they just take a little bit of the vibrations out. They can sort of manage the oscillations that the bike gives you back, and the suspension can't really absorb. So if you're riding really long descents, you do notice a massive difference.
Yeah, I do actually.
It's sort of, you don't get the same arm pump, and then they're just a little bit lighter.
They are lighter, yeah. They are more expensive, that's probably the biggest disadvantage. Gavin Williams, this is talking about the Magpies. We've had a lot of chat about Magpies after last week's show.
Crazy.
And people getting attacked in Australia.
I'd like to see some GoPro footage of
I've seen some of this before. Gavin Williams got a top tip. He says gaffer tape a cat to your helmet to avoid magpie attacks. It's never failed him.
Yes, he did. Imagine if you look back and the cat just fell off.
Although
the rat's up there, look.
Lucas Gauci has got slightly more practical advice. He says some zip ties to your helmet leave the long ends on. Magpies don't like it. So there you go, guys. Magpie advice.
Yeah.
Mark Schultz, ask GMBN. Single speed versus derailleur gears on a street or slopestyle bike. It's going to be used more on street and dirt jumps than slopestyle. What do you think?
Sorry, what was that? The rat was just running along the beam up top.
Well, I've got a dirt jump bike and it's single speed and it's really simple. I guess it's it's cheaper, so you're not going to damage the rear mech, things like that, if you dump the bike or crash, things like that.
That is true. They're just a little bit more, you can sort of be more playful. Save a bit of weight as well.
True, and I think you should check out Ryan Nyquist's Pro Bike. It's a pretty unusual slopestyle bike. Today's Pro Bike check, we've got quite an unusual bike. This is BMX legend Ryan Nyquist's slopestyle bike. So this is the bike that Ryan's riding at the Joyride slopestyle competition here at Whistler Crankworks. And it's definitely a BMX inspired mountain bike.
Neil, you ready for the quickfire round? I'm going to hit you with the first one from Daniel Marty. How do you prevent from runner's knee?
Simple, don't run.
Sensible. Ivan Whoa! Was that the rat? Ivan Kendallen. Well, guys, looking a week away next year, Andorra or Finale Liguri? Also, which is easier to get to?
It depends where you're coming from, I suppose. We've just been to Finale. It is amazing.
All time.
Probably some of the best riding, definitely some of the best riding I've ever done, so I'll recommend that.
Emmanuel Dures is saying, please also use a metric system.
I guess you're referring to when we measure things and weigh things, but there is a thing called Google.
Just let me Google that for you. Stanislav is saying, power meters for a cross-country mountain bike, is it worth the extra money?
I have one and I do use it on my cross-country bike and I find it really useful.
What's your max power?
Oh, I can't remember. I use it more for threshold training actually, Scott. It's good if you want to get super into your stats, but it depends how hard you train really and if you're training for something specifically.
Luke Salzville is saying, what are your thoughts on riding a dirt jumper around town?
Love it. Great fun, great street bikes. I've just shot a couple of videos on mine.
Commute regularly?
It's single speed, so it wouldn't be ideal around here. It's a bit hilly around here for it.
And then Gavin Holly is saying, when are the GMBN jerseys coming?
Well, big news.
Just got an email.
We just got an email about it. They're in the store now.
Hey, here it is. We just got this yesterday or the day before, and these are in the shop. You can actually go and check them out, pre-order them, and they'll be coming early December. So perfect for a Christmas present.
Follow the link in the end board, or there'll be one in the description down below this video.
There you go. And now we're going on to correct me if I'm wrong. You ready for some corrections?
That's it.
Okay, this first one comes from Johnny Baxter, so just let me click on this link and we can have a little bit look at what he's doing. What? That is a pretty steep ramp.
That is a homemade jump out of, what's he made out of?
It looks like a slide, do you not think?
It does, doesn't it? It looks like some sort of children's play area that you've made.
Let's just replay that.
That actually looks pretty good. It does look like a really steep kicker.
Did you see how fast his forks rebounded as well? Like when he's mid-air, take a look at that, you just see the rebound. Bop.
Looks good to me though. Pretty styling. Going super high.
Yeah. Pull that bike up a little bit more towards him and he might just nail that downslope a little bit better.
I like it. Nice one.
So, there we go, another edition of Ask GMBN. And if you've got mountain bike questions, then leave them in the comment section right down there.
Yeah, do that. If you want to see some more videos whilst here, click just over here to get through to the A-Line ride along with Scotty here. Greg Williamson and Rui Cunningham.
And perhaps you want to know how to ride loose turns, click somewhere just about here and you'll get to find out how loose the turns really are in Finale.
Click on the link up there to take you through to the GMBN store. We can buy t-shirts just like these.
And these jerseys finally, whoop!
Brand new.
And then click just maybe up there to subscribe because you'll get a great video every day of the week.
See you next time.